Okay, so time to work on some of these bridges. Now, I've got some of my measurements wrong when I set this one down, and I actually want the road at this point to be closer to 30 mil. So this is going to be, these are going to be a little bit further apart. Right, it's going to come this way. So I'm going to start with this bridge. Now, I've already trimmed the bottom down so that it sits on the base piece there, and that allows me, having it all the way to the very bottom, to the actual wooden base, means that I can play around. If I do want one of these banks to really go right down, I can go all the way down to this brickwork down here. I'm not quite sure if I can get this in the light that I've got here. It's a bit poor. Now, because these are road bridges, you get a little bit of detail on the return side, but it's quite simplified. So we're going to have to rework some of these stones so they look good on the inside as well as on the outside. And there's a few mould bits there that need sorting out. The straight returns for these side walls, I'm going to be using Peco's NB40, which is a plastic grey brick in a very similar style. It's not quite as deep, but it's pretty close enough for me to work from. You get a 4-pack of these in a box, so they're going to be reworked for the inside panels. Now it's going to need a little bit of model making to make this actually all line up. I'm probably going to leave the keystones as a nice separator, because what will go in the roof is, well, I'll either use brick, but I'm probably going to use this, which is a bit like a brick surface. I'm not quite sure if that's getting picked up on there or not. It's hard to know when the camera's above the height of your head whether you're getting a focus on this stuff. But this is, what is this? This is a dressed stone reference 0435. I can't remember the brand of it. But that's going to be, because it's a thin plastic card, be quite useful for scooping in into that top surface and having an arched roof, although it most likely, it won't be that way, it will be that way, won't it? Yeah, right. All right, so we can get on with building this, making this good so that we've got a fixed piece, and then we'll move on to the rail bridge. So first job, as you've seen on this side, I've tickled the back side of the top stones. You can see on that side, otherwise they just look like moulded plastic. And also on the back here, I need to resolve those injection moulded circles, and I need to then, I've added a little layer of brickwork, and I'm going to make that good, fill and make good with some car body. This is a double tunnel portal from Peco that I'm going to use for the road bridge. I've got to chop a lot of this about, make the sides straight and make it shorter. But of course, I didn't video it. Well, I did video it. Well, I thought I videoed it, but I hadn't pressed the button. Right, time for the original cart track bridge under the old horse-drawn railway. So I wanted it to look like this. I could have used one of the ones from Jarvis. It looks a bit like that, but they're a bit horrible, really. It's okay if you cover it in foliage and have it in the background, but they're a bit, it's a bit old school, isn't it? Right, so now the Peco kit, as you can see, looks completely different, and but I'm thinking there's components here that I can actually use. Right, so I've chopped it up into all these little pieces, and then I'm going to stick it all back together again. But first I need to get these keystones in place. So I've drawn up this fan on masking tape, and then applied it over the top, cut out the shape, and then laid on some car body filler. Various thicknesses. I'm going to sand it down, then just trim it back, and hey presto. Obviously needs a little bit of tickling still. Right, but put that dry for a while that all gets nice and rigid. Come back to that later. Next, need to make these into those curved walls that we see on the side. So I think I'll trim the tops, trim these off, reshape these, curve them round, stick all back together again. Bit more to do, but that's a good start. Right, well, that's enough of the customization of these bits and bats. There's my curved walls I was talking about. The straight edges, those straight edges down there, they'll be, as soon as I put a buttress, because actually the buttress goes in front of these, and obviously it's going to be lower than that, then you won't see those edges. I'm worried about blending them in. And I've got a little bit more work to do with this. It's got a few little details that need just sorting up, but I'm kind of happy with how that conversion's gone. I'm happy with like the returns at the back of this, so that's the bit you see at the back. So that's I'm happy with that. Happy with the backside work of those, and yeah, there's got a bit more tying up at the back of that one. The curved ones worked out quite well. Removing those and then sticking them on, but they need to be pointed a bit. I shouldn't have such toothy gaps in between them. The returns of these, so that when you see the back side of the coping stones, you don't have that mould line. Yeah, all that kind of stuff I'm pretty happy with, but better go with painting them, I suppose. Oops, almost forgot. I've got to sort out the internal sidewalls to go in here. So I made this pattern, which is the void, comes out of the board, the foam board. So this has got to be put together, and then the real struggle is going to be how I fettle these corners to actually work with the end of this board. So I better get on with that first before I start painting anything. So slightly jumped around a little bit. This is the work getting on with the main underbridge. There's that piece of angled plastic will be marked up to make it look like keystone or stones, and I've got to do keystones on the edge as well. That beam at the back, it's just drying at the moment, is a stop for the brick roof, which we'll be using. So something like, get my hand out of the way, something like that. I made a pattern out of cardboard, and you can see when you do an arch on an angle, it comes out actually as an S shape. So I should be cutting that, gluing that in place, and then when the polystyrene cement has completely dried, which I'll normally leave it for a day, then we'll just do some fettling and make all the keystones join up and all that kind of malarkey. Okie doke. Right, so having a little bit of a muck about with the buttresses, which obviously in the Peco kit are huge, and most of this is cut down, remember. So what I've had to do is cut these end pieces off here, so that I can reattach them so that they're absolutely dead square, whilst the buttress leans back, which is how it is on the moors. That one's leaning back as well. I've got a bit more work to do on the corners, on the corner work for the actually a pointy thing. This corner work here needs a little bit more fettling. I've got the roof up inside of there. Happy with how that construction's going. Remember, when you use this plastic material, you do need to put some supporting structures down the sides, and that so that because otherwise they bow out in the middle as you bend them. Slightly larger buttresses on the back end, again at an angle, slightly lower down, because obviously all of this is going downhill. Yeah, got to leave them to dry now. That's only stuff. Problem with using Tamiya cement. Obviously it's not really a glue, it's melting the plastic, and then the plastic has to then dry, and that takes a little while. So however much I want to crack on, I've got to be patient. Well, that's drying. Thought I'd have a quick look at what we're doing here with the old under rail bridge. Obviously you can see that there's gaps down here, but that'll all get, there'll be a build up coming up through here of the grass, and obviously a lot of this stuff of the embankment needs to be removed. That shoulder needs to come off a little bit, but yeah, happy with how that's worked out. That's I think it's getting the feel of that area, which is quite iconic. River Bridge is working well. There's going to be obviously a lot more of this surface will be taken down, but this will be approximately where the water level is going to be. But these banks are going to have to come down a little bit as well. But yeah, that's coming along. As you can see, it is a bit wider. I did measure, got out the Land Rover and measured it, and it's almost exactly, 2 Land Rovers couldn't actually get past, but 2 small little cars can. But I don't think anyone really bothers, they always wait. And the road widens a little bit here. Got to do a little bit of reshaping of the road because it comes this way, and then don't use your finger, just comes this way, and then it sweeps out that way as well. But all good progress. Now then, we've fitted the buttresses on the bridge construction. I've got them where I want them. After getting out the Land Rover and doing some measurements, I realised that we've got to move the road a bit that way. So that's what we're doing. Don't worry about all the foam, that will get backfilled, that's no problem. That bridge has stayed the same. Now, culverts, well, rather enjoyed making this one, which is the one that comes through. Now it's at, and starts there, it's set at a bit of an angle, because this one is apparently at more of an angle, and I think that's to do with concerns about flooding this area here, putting the bank in danger. So this one that was made later than that one apparently is reasonably steep, so stuff flows through it quite quickly. The little one over here, we weren't going to use the Woodland Scenics culverts, but when I took it out of its packet, I thought, oh, this is all just a bit too, no, it's not my cup of tea. And I got my scratch build mojo on, and we decided that this would be more fun to actually build. It's got a little, you can't see it in this light. Let's see if I can get it into a place where there's better light. But it's painted in the inside with like a dark green, the brickwork on the floor, which is slightly curved on this one. And then it's then the rest of the walls are sort of like a NATO black, which is that kind of like charcoal black. It's just so that you don't really see what's going on, although because of the little lip that it has, sits in there, because that little lip there will be a little bit of resin in there which might reflect and shine you. Who knows what it will do. Did think about having it go all the way through, and I thought, nah, that's just running out of time. So the next job, now these are all, I'm happy with their positioning, and I know what I need to do. I'm now going to start the painting of those. I've got some walls and things to work about here, which will probably get painted at the same time, so I might get onto walls next actually. Okay, so I can't put it off any longer, got to do some painting. Now I started with Tamiya's XF-57 buff. This is a base colour. I put a little bit of Tamiya thinners, the acrylic thinner, into that, thin it down, kind of consistency you'd spray with really, so that when I painted it on here, it wasn't too thick, it didn't fill up the gaps too much, and it pools in places and it's thin in other places, so you get a nice variation to the brickwork straight away. All right. Now, I'm not seriously into painting, though, if I'm absolutely honest. And it doesn't have to be too hard. Some people put some incredible amount of effort in and produce some fantastic results. But this is not just about the buildings. This is about the whole build. And also, I've done myself for a bit of time here, so I've got to crack on. I really haven't got the time to go super top heavy on these things. But I think I've got time to just do a little bit of light mucking about. Now, I'm not going to I'm not going to paint all of it, although I'll be painting all of it at the same time. I'm not going to video all that because it will take way too long. Now, you'll notice on some of these pictures that there's a lot of lichen, a lot of bleaching out, and a lot of lime mortar, which in bright sunlight looks really white. Now, I did try a few tests on doing this. I must admit, it looked a bit weird in model form. Now, if I was making an exact replica of that, let's say for a film shot, for an establishing shot before an actor walked in front of the real thing, it would have to be exactly the same. And I reckon I could make it exactly the same, but your brain doesn't think it's weird because the next minute, if you cut from the model to seeing an actor standing by the real thing, and the whole thing makes sense. Whereas just leave the model on its own with all that weird white stuff on, it just looks a bit odd. It doesn't really, I don't think it looks that nice. There are other elements of some of these, I might have some pictures coming up now, of some of the other brickwork that I like, that's got greens and browns and darks and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, what shows up the detail on a lot of these, and remember this is N gauge, are these big grooves. So we need to kind of point this a little bit more. So we'll be doing some of that. I'll talk about that in a second. But actually in the real thing, those cut stones are so tightly put together, there's hardly any pointing and it's hardly visible. Some of it's dark where it's got damp and rot in, and there's a lot of it that's got foliage going out of it. So I shall be putting foliage in the appropriate places sticking out of this brickwork. But what I'm going to do as a base colour, I'm going to do something that this is how I like it. All right, so I'm not doing exactly the real thing. I'm going to paint these how I want to because it's my layout. Right, so like I said, we've started with the buff. We're going to do a couple of touches here and there using NATO black, which is XF69, because it's not a pure black. It's more like a dark charcoal as opposed to German grey. German grey's another nice dark one. Actually, I think I might have swapped the lids over because I'm pretty sure that NATO black is blacker than German grey. I think I've mixed the lids up. Anyway, what's in the bottles is what counts. Black, that's black green. Oh, where's my other black? Doesn't matter. It's around here somewhere, and I'm not using it. So stop wasting everybody's time, Chris. Ha ha! There's the black. I'm not going to use it anyway. Put it over there. Right. Excuse me. It's on my throat. And another highlight colour I'm going to use is red brown. Okay. Now these are what I'm going to be using as. Some people pick out bricks. I don't like picking out bricks mainly because a lot of these things you don't have a brick as a separate colour. Now that might be prototypical in some places. It certainly isn't on this. You just get various stains and stuff going on. So I'm going to be dry brushing diagonally across. I prefer it that way. All right. Actually, I might put some. Who cares? You'll see what's going on when I paint with those. Right. Once all that's done, I will then be using a bit of acrylic thin. Now this is my dirty pot. Now whenever I clean a brush, my dirty stuff goes in there. I clean the brush in clean liquid, right? And so you get a real mucky acrylic. Now that's what I'm going to be using to actually blend a lot of this stuff together. And then when that's dry, I shall be going over then with one stripe filler. Okay, which is dry in 30 minutes, no sanding. Now I shall be using a palette knife, little one, and scrubbing that all over, and then I'll be pretty much using a kitchen towel and slightly damp, and I'll be diagonally across, not along or down, because then you wipe it out of the lines. You go diagonally across, and I'll be getting most of that out, and here and there I'll be scraping a few bits, and that will point the whole thing, but it'll look quite distinct and white, right? So I want to knock that down. Now in the places where I might want to leave a bit of lime water, I might either, well, if I make it too dirty, I might go back with some DCC Concepts white. This is the powder, but I probably won't be doing too much of that. I don't really like it. Most of it will be pointed out with sandstone or pale grey. Here and there be a variation, and then to muck about with that as well across the brick faces, and being picked up by this, because this is actually really quite, it's fine, but it's quite gritty, so it picks it up. It picks colour up in a different way. I'll be using actual oil paint pigments. I'll put them in these little jars because you don't want to get this on your fingers, because you have to kind of basically grow it off. It's really hard to clean. You don't want to get it on your clothes either. So this is the kind of stuff that artists mix with linseed oil and make actual oil paint pigments from. This is super strong stuff. I will be little dusts of that, and then blowing it off and then wiping it away. I've got burnt umber. You can get this cheap as chips. A little packet is about this much on Amazon for a few quid. These little jam jars are perfect because, like I said, it's a really nice way of just keeping them. It's a nice firm jar that won't knock over easily, and you know what I mean. And you can quite clearly see what it is. So I've got burnt umber, burnt sienna, and I've got some black. I've got some other colours, but I think that's all I'm going to need. I don't really want to go mad with this. So that's enough yibbity yabbity you. Let's crack on. Let's chuck a bit of paint down, shall we? Right. So I'm going to start off with a bit of the Rail200 black. Get myself my Costa coffee stick mixing stick, and I really want. I'm just going to do a little patch just for this piece of video. And so you get an idea, and then I'm just going to crack on. And the next thing you'll see is when I'm gluing these in place. Is that okay with you? Right. One basic cheap brush, a 00 Revel. I think it's had this for years, and I won't be going too wet with this either. I'm just literally going to be I might even put a bit of cardboard down. A little bit of cardboard so I can dry my brush off a bit, and I'm just going to put the blacker stuff is going to be lower down or under shady corners. Right, I'll go straight to Rolf Harris, and we're not allowed to use Rolf Harris anymore, are we? We'll get cancelled. The wife's going to watch this, and she's going to tell me off for mentioning him again. Because he's rightly so, he should be in prison. Although as a boy he was a childhood hero, but that was misguided. I know that now. Why do heroes do that stuff? All that mucking about. So I know it looks a little bit odd. And we'll have a few bits in there. Maybe I should practice being a little bit more like, what's his face? He did the Happy Accident. Bob Ross. Yeah, because you can't get anything wrong with this. You're just having fun. It's just a giggle. That's what you've got to remember when you're doing this stuff. Is it's yours. It doesn't really matter. It's all jolly good fun. And I need another stick. Come on, Peachy. Prep. Come on. No, I quite like. Oh, I chucked it everywhere down there, haven't I? I chucked it all over my hand. Lucky pup. Yuck. Right, I might as well pinch a bit of this that I've actually put on my board before I. Jubbly. Might choose a few more bits of brown in here. That is what those crevices underneath this stuff. The darker stuff tends to be underneath things where the rain can't wash it off, or down lower. Okay, that looks a little bit like, I don't know, some sort of weird camouflage, doesn't it? Now I'm going to crack on with this because you really don't want to be mucking about with it. Right, and then what we're going to do then is we're going to blend a lot of that in. Cool. Let that dry off. Nice and dry. This stuff is really quite easy to apply. I might change my glasses so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Ah, there it is. As you can see, this nicely picks up the pointing. Now, this is my base, okay, and happy accents work sometimes better in in some places better than other places. But I'm going to paint everything like this first, then they're going to get mounted into the layout, and then I'll be titting about with little bits of detail, little bits of damp and all that kind of stuff once it's actually in the landscape. But you get the general feel of kind of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve. This needs to be darker underneath here, and that really should be lighter on top of there. But this is, like I said, this is going to be the base, showing a little bit of the lime mortar here and there, but then some of it being actually sort of like really ingrained with dirt, and a bit the mortar's a bit darker and black. And that's it really. I just need to crack on.
That's all there is to tell. I'll be on my way now, sir. I've got urgent business in the south. I have to meet a man at Melbourne Junction.